We all have our loops, our habits, behaviors that keep us walking in circles, reaching for the same solution over and over again, thinking each time they'll take you somewhere new, but they don't, and still, it's the neural pathway of least resistance, the path you made. It's the one that kept you safe when you were a child. You learned to push people away before they could hurt you, and now, as an adult, you are still stuck right where you started, alone. There is a room you have been in before. You don't know when, you don't know exactly where. The carpet is a particular shade of worn beige, and the fluorescent light hums at a frequency you recognize somewhere in your chest. And the wallpaper, yellow, that exhausted yellow, feels like something you were supposed to forget. But you didn't forget it, and you can't quite place it. Like nostalgia, but not quite. Nostalgia has warmth, a little pain, and a source you can point to. This is something else. This is the sensation of a memory that has no edges. A memory of a place, or a person, or a version of yourself that your mind keeps returning to, not because it was important, but because it was unresolved. She is talking to us, as if she were looking directly into us. Her voice with the cadence of someone who has said this before, many times, in many rooms, to many people. And the strange thing is that it feels like a confession that she's rehearsed so many times it has become indistinguishable from belief. From monologue to session, there is something that happens between two people when one of them is trying to explain something they've lived, and the other is trying to understand it. What we call communication. But what about the comprehension? It is more like translation. It is the kind of translation where both people know, somewhere beneath the effort, that what arrives on the other side will be an approximate. Close but wrong in ways that may never be discernible. Imagine describing a dog to someone who has never seen one before, and asking them to draw it. They might get some things right, but there's no way to get everything right. All the devil's in the details. So from a distance, you look at it and you think you're seeing a dog. Clark says to Mary he's found something. He's trying to explain something enormous and frightening and real, and she is trying to understand him, frightened herself, explaining something he has no language for. Here lies the problem. You are describing something from the inside of an experience someone standing entirely outside of it. Your pain, your history, your specific wound, the particular texture of a childhood fear, the exact weight of the failure you're still carrying. And the drawing they make will always be a dog-shaped thing that gets the number of legs right and loses everything else. The texture of the fur, the specific way it looked at you. But the worst part is that you can't even tell them what they got wrong. Clark sleeps in his furniture store, surrounded by the things he sells. Captain Clark of Captain Clark's Furniture Emporium, sleeping among his inventory like a man who has made peace with a life he did not choose. Or is at least a man who's at the inflection point of making peace, and giving up being close enough to the same thing that the distinction no longer matters. Except, he snaps. I am a fucking architect. He has been an architect in his mind for long enough that the insistence has the quality of a ruin. Something that was once a living structure, now held together by mostly the surrounding habitat and the habit of believing in it. He is not practicing, he hasn't practiced. And you understand, watching him, that this is exactly what Mary was describing at the beginning. Not that he failed, not that something was taken from him, but at some point the path of least resistance became the path he walked. But he is not lonely, he is alone. Because loneliness is a condition with a cure, the right person, the right room, the right conversation. Alone is a structure. It's something you built, or something that got built around you. We cast the people we trust into the roles of the people who hurt us. This is what relationships are. We ask them to stand in the room where the damage happened and say the lines back to us. Let the memory inhabit the room rather than just describing it, hoping that this time, in a controlled environment with someone safe holding that role, we might understand what occurred. Well, that's me. He says this during a role play with Mary after acting out a previous version of himself. Captain Clark, the self you perform for the world and the self you carry in your body are often the same self. There is no other Clark waiting to be excavated, and the roleplay in Mary's office is not retrieving a truer version of him. It's reconstructing a version of him that memory has already distorted, because that is what memory does. You are not who you were, and any perspective you take on who you were is filtering through who you are becoming. The infomercial on the screen has the soft glow and the swelling ambient tone of a religious broadcast or a yoga treatment. Mary on television is elevated, luminous, a version of herself narrating a path to psychological freedom. She is selling the idea that change is possible and desirable, that the window isn't locked, that you can step through. Mary watches herself on television, with a TV tray, eating alone in the dark, watching herself tell other people that they don't have to be alone. The advice we give from our own scars, the clarity that we have about other people's traps that we cannot apply to our own. As the person sitting watching this, who has probably at some point said something wise and true to someone else about a wound that was more so theirs. Small, unremarkable, a piece of concrete, a piece of Mary's childhood, or at least a memory from before the house was gone. Her handprint depression, a physical proof of an experience that no one else had. Like Clark saying he'll bring proof of the backrooms, like the footage, the map, the evidence of a place only he had been. A physical memory, a piece of the material world that held her shape, proof that she existed, that the moment was real. She carries it everywhere. On the TV tray, at work, nearby when she sleeps. The way certain objects become companion objects, not a deliberate act, but because at some point they became part of the architecture of your daily existence, and removing them would feel like a small violence. Your traumas are always with you. They define you because of the self that was formed in response to the things that happened to you. But you can't lift yourself with the tool that is also what needs to be lifted. The backrooms themselves are corridors and rooms of yellow-lit carpet and low humming, and the dimensions are off. The angles don't resolve. It feels like a place that has been remembered rather than built. The interconnected rooms of what it feels like to try to understand someone, the negative space of the human condition. Clark comes across a life-size cardboard cutout of a caveman, standing in one of the corridors, playing on loop a recording of greetings in many languages. The universal greeting. A creature that looks like us, that wants what we want, to be known, to have the fact of its existence acknowledged by someone outside itself. And it is speaking desperately in every language, hoping that one of them lands. This is not communication, this is the desire to communicate. In what would later be revealed, a way of signaling presence and reaching toward comprehension. Why did you do this to yourself? How did you get here? Your consciousness is a room full of memories that is constantly evolving. But as you walk through life, the untrained mind can start to build walls, put up barriers to protect itself from the outside world. Mary describes consciousness as a room. Monologue that becomes a session. The you that was always also me. The window isn't locked. The latch was never broken. Are you ready to step through? Mary wrote this from her own window, the childhood bedroom where her mother told her she could never go outside. A memory aimed outward at the person who is watching it, because that is what memories do. They are not private archives. They reach, they project, they interpret the present through the past so completely that you sometimes cannot feel where the past ends. He says he'll bring proof because if there's footage, at least the place exists outside of him. At least the reality isn't just his. Quiet and devastating, she is holding proof of her own unspoken, unverifiable experience. Existence always precedes essence. This place builds them, or actually more like it remembers them. And the more times it remembers something, the less it does. Irrational numbers, within its infinite decimal expansion, contain every conceivable finite sequence of digits, every pattern, every code, every string of numbers that has ever meant anything to anyone. Somewhere in pi is the exact sequence of your own phone number, followed by your birthday, and then the coordinates of every place you've ever loved. But zooming out, the patterns are meaningless. It contains you incidentally, the way a very large space contains everything. The furniture store, Mary's house, the two young co-workers' apartment, the outside world. And the more the backrooms remember, the less the memory is the thing it was. The reconstruction accumulates error. The dog gets further and further from the dog until what's left is a dog-shaped outline. The memory of who someone was to you calcifies into a shape that has less and less to do with who they actually were. How your understanding of your own past becomes a kind of mythology, structurally coherent, emotionally true, but you are not remembering your childhood. You are remembering a memory of your childhood, and it is already a reconstruction of a previous remembrance. This is the horror about what happens to the people and experiences we carry inside us over time. The people in the backrooms, the denizens, the figures who drift through its corridors with no apparent purpose, Clark describes. For starters, they can't feel anything. He stabs one to demonstrate, then, can you imagine how good that must feel? I mean, there's no thoughts, no pain, no ego, no fear. They simply exist, like furniture. This is the path of least resistance taken to its terminal point. Not death, not sleep, just the cessation of effort. The effort to understand and be understood, to push through the gap between yourself and another person, to keep showing up to Mary's office even when it isn't working, to carry the concrete handprint everywhere, even though it will never fully explain you. In stopping, the denizens have become furniture. In Clark, who has been sleeping in a furniture store, who is making peace with the shape of the life he was given, who is an architect in the way that all people who gave up their drafting tables and miniature models are still architects. The best part, you can eat him. He is not just relieved by the absence of feeling, he is feeding on it. The path of least resistance does not stay neutral. It becomes sustaining. It becomes comfortable. You become stuck in a way that no longer feels like sticking, because the pressure to move has been removed. Captain Clark has been here a while. Captain Clark likes it here. Mary, I opened the window. I won't be coming back. It's the vocabulary of her book turned back toward her, and the meaning has inverted. In Mary's framework, opening the window is liberation. It is stepping through, reclaiming, beginning again. Clark has found his window. He has found the place where, for the first time in a long time, he feels like he is right where he is supposed to be. We are not ready to fully understand each other. It is more than most people can survive. I can't help you. As much as I tried, it's just not up to me. I can't save anyone. This is the moment that every therapist, every friend, every person who has tried to understand someone at the cost of their own equilibrium eventually reaches. The recognition that understanding is not the same as saving. Mary has spent her professional life building tools to help people open windows she has been standing in front of herself. The tool you use to survive another person's damage is your own wound, not your strength, not your training, not your expertise, not the book you wrote or the system you developed. Mary hits Captain Clark with the thing that proves her childhood was real and left a mark. The handprint is not a weapon she chose, it is the weapon she has always been carrying. You deal with another person's disaster with your own disaster, because that is all you have. Captain Clark, the version of Clark that gave up, crying, wailing, some deep, realized pain coming out of the thing that has surrendered to being furniture. The path of least resistance is not painless. People who stop trying do not stop hurting. Captain Clark is screaming, the corridor too narrow for him to reach, and she is still listening. Every day I go in there and just try to find out even a little bit more. I mapped out areas to the best of my abilities, and more I'm convinced that nothing in our lifetime, nothing in maybe all of recorded history means more than this. But I don't understand it, and I can't even describe it. The space between people. He is talking about the attempt to understand each other, which he cannot understand and cannot describe. The most important thing in recorded history. The impossibility does not cancel the necessity. If anything, they reinforce each other. The more impossible it is, the more it matters that we keep trying. The caveman in the corridor, playing its loop of greetings, was placed by Phil, or another Phil. We have been trying to reach each other for as long as we have existed. We sent probes into space with golden records, images of who we are, our location, the sound of our planet, our atrocities, aimed at whoever might be out there, on the off chance something receives it. Up until here, the backrooms have been organized around Clark's life. his furniture store, his inventory, the pirate persona, his architecture, the geometry of his experience. But the observer becomes the observed. The woman who opened the film speaking to you ends the film being seen, sitting like furniture in a room that is a memory of the room where she sat and listened to Phil tell her the most important thing she ever heard, something she already knew, the two-way mirror. Those who study and those who are studying find that one who has been watching is also being watched by someone who wants to understand her, and that person is being watched by someone who wants to understand them. This is us. You look at it from a distance and you think you're seeing a dog. The details lag and sometimes never arrive, but nothing in recorded history matters more than reaching for them anyway.